one, record. And welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you on.
Thank you for having me, Jason. Same here. Happy to get into this conversation.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, I'm sure, because it has to do with, coming out the other end, so to speak, and finding the new you. But before we get into the weeds in that, let's tell everybody a little bit about yourself, in case they're not too familiar with you, a little bit about your background, how you got to this point, that type of thing.
Yeah, okay. So I go by the Massa First Time, so that's a self-appointed title. But it comes from the fact that for the last 8 years, I have been on a journey of first time and new experiences. And I found myself on this journey after hitting my rock bottom. And that happened after multiple failures in business. And then what really broke the camel's back was a relationship failure. And so I found myself on my knees and telling God, okay, clearly I don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm screwing this up and I need help. I don't know where to turn because I had been doing everything that everyone says you're supposed to do to be successful. And that's to be ambitious, to be driven, to be fearless, and to just go after your passion and your dreams without hesitation. And that was me. I went full board and multiple businesses and failures, learning, getting back up. But there's a darkness that was still building inside of me based off all of that. But it is when the relationship ended that really, because it's like, can't be successful in business, can't be successful, in love. And the relationship with my family didn't exist. So I just, there was just, everywhere I turn around, I was screwing things up. And so
I'm not
God,
laughing at that, by the way. I'm just,
yeah, well, I
I can
can laugh at
appreciate
it.
it.
Yeah. So I did. I turned my life over to God, and He brought me back to the Marine Corps. So I guess I kind of skipped that, but I started out 17, joined the Marine Corps. 18, I was turned 18 in boot camp, and did active duty for 10 years, and then the entrepreneurial thing. And then after 3 years of that, and going completely broke and hitting rock bottom, I found myself back in the Marine Corps, going overseas, going to Germany, and I just found myself on this incredible journey of being in new countries and deciding to try new things. And that changed my relationship with life. Everything just shifted in me, and I grew to appreciate what life had to offer. So instead of chasing after things and forgetting to live, I made living my priority. And that, yeah, it's been a beautiful journey since. And when it was time to decide, okay, what's next, as I was closing the chapter down on the Marine Corps, and I knew it'd been 10 years since I had claimed the title entrepreneur. So I was ready to reclaim the title and get back into the entrepreneurial game. It's
It is
not,
a game.
nothing is harder. 24 years in the Marine Corps, as a woman, made to the rank of lieutenant colonel, been in combat. Nothing is harder than being an entrepreneur. Like
Ah,
that's where you really grind your teeth and you get to see what you're made of. So I'm back at it.
that makes me feel a little good as an entrepreneur myself. That you have to be tough, right, to do it. But you skipped over that was not a minor detail that you were in the Marine Corps because Marines are tough. So you are tough, and you have the makeup obviously to deal with tough times and get through trauma. And get you on the track you're on now, which looks like it's a great track to be on.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
congratulations.
But there's a big difference between being tough in an environment where you're going to get paid on the first and the 15th, your medical's covered, and if you get in trouble, there's a lot of people to help you out. It's completely different being on your own, not making any money, not knowing where your next paycheck's going to come from. The environment under which you need to be tough is very, very different as an entrepreneur. But yeah, it is all that experience though that does add up. And that now today I feel much better prepared to pursue what I'm out to do. And what I want to do is raise human potential within my lifetime. So, but ultimately too, the major difference is that my life is committed to God, and it's really, I will put in all the hard work, but he's the one opening up the doors and will ultimately make this come to pass if it's really meant to be for me.
That is just great, and I just love the positive energy coming out of you when you talk. I can feel it myself, and I'm sure the people listening can feel it coming through the airwaves too. So so let's talk a bit about this current mission of yours. What's your goal? Let's start there.
So it's to raise your potential. So I have been obsessed with self development my entire life. So I'm going to be 43 this year, next month. And
Best times of your life. Come on.
yeah, okay. So, and it has been an obsession. And what I see happening is people get caught up in loops. And that, whether it's that self-talk or the beliefs that you had as a child or growing up and the things that have happened to you, and we're caught in those stories, we're caught in those loops. And in order to break out of those loops, you have to rewire yourselves. Like, you have to do things that cause you to pause, stop, step out of the loop that you're in. And I discovered that no matter how much we talk about it, it doesn't make it happen. It has to be action driven. And then if it's fun and it's more, game like, then it's even more attractive to us. So when I was coming back out as an entrepreneur, I knew, okay, I need to create something that's going to be fun for people. And that's when I reflected on my journey of first time in your experiences. It's been a lot of fun. So even though I still had hardship and challenges during those years, I was having so much fun that it was just like, oh, it didn't matter as much. I would just go back to having fun. So that's what the 365 First Challenge is about, is that I'm out to help people break those loops, rewire themselves, but do so having fun through having first time and new experiences.
Let's talk a little bit about like the specifics of, like, you're talking about the loops, breaking these loops. What type of loops are you talking about when it comes to personal development?
So there's multiple loops that can exist. So one loop might, well, multiple loops within your comfort zones, right? So a fear, everything that's tied to what you are afraid to do for whatever reason you're afraid to do those things. So we have to interrupt that thinking, and we got to get you to step outside of it and have a greater understanding of what comfort zones are, what your fears are, and what they can mean. And then there's also the loops that you have about your self-talk, or how you view yourself, your potential. So we have to rewire that, or at least get you neutral, because it's very hard to go, if you're the type of person that's negative on yourself, it's going to be very hard for you to flip from being negative on yourself to being positive.
Right.
So it's a process where let's get you to where you're neutral, like you stop judging yourself. So if you can just be neutral, that's a good place to be. And then we'll slowly get you into the more positive, side of the equation as you keep having experiences. So the key to all of this, that you keep having experiences, and as you're having those, we are discussing their impact. We are discussing what you want out of them, how they can shape you. And so you become a lot more mindful. So instead of being in the rat race and you don't exactly know what life is about and why, you're just doing. Now you become mindful of what you're doing, why you're doing it, how it brings value into your life, and how then it starts engaging you with life. And that's where the magic and the beauty starts happening too, because when you start engaging with life, life gives back to you. And now you become co-creators, and really incredible things do start happening because your mindset is shifting. The people around you will change, and you're going to be okay with the fact that you are on this path of growth, of development, and that things will not stay the same, and you become comfortable with change instead of being uncomfortable and avoiding change. Now you can embrace it. So it's doing like a lot of shift, that are not inherently what humans enjoy doing, and getting to the point where you actually do enjoy doing it, and you're learning about the brain chemicals that you're releasing in the process. Like, you have a clear understanding of how things work.
Yeah. Wow. All right. That was a lot of information you just gave us, but it was, but, but great stuff. And some of what you said uh, just rings so true to me. I've talked about this with other people too on my podcast here about, I call it, being the author of your life versus being, just letting life happen to you, you taking charge and writing your own story rather than being on the sidelines and just watching life go by you. And it's a total mind shift, right? And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice, technique, but it is really a whole paradigm shift, if you want to call it that. But it can make such a big difference in the way you approach, life, divorce. Since that's what I focus on in this show, and how you come out of it on the other end and approach your post-divorce life. And then you mentioned stuff about fear, um, overcoming fear. And let's backtrack a little for a second and talk more about that, because I think that's really applicable to people going through divorce. And, maybe that was part of your personal situation when you hit rock bottom with your personal relationship. Maybe if you want, you could talk a little bit about that and how the fear plays a role, and why you need and why it's important to kind of overcome fear when you're dealing with any traumatic event, whether it's divorce or a bad relationship or bad marriage.
Absolutely. So for me though, so yeah, I I found myself in a place of great anger when
Normal.
and normal. And I think that's something that's probably part of the process. If when you fail and a divorce, some many people look at that as a failure, like you fell in the relationship. So there's a lot of anger towards the other party, but then there's probably a lot of anger that you're not yet either pointing at yourself, but at some point you will point at yourself. And then there's fear of the unknown, of fear of what that means, of what's on the other side. So if you've been married for a really long time and you're just not used to being alone and you don't know how you're going to make ends meet, so there's a lot around that there could be a lot of fear because you don't know what it's going to be like. And ultimately, where this really hurts you and hinders your progress and your ability to get through it is because you are imagining the worst. So, fear, it's so much more in our minds than it is in reality. So one of the things that I teach in the Maximize Your Journey program is that there's different kind of fear. You have founded fears that I'm afraid of this because it has happened to me and I know what can happen. And then you have unfounded fear where it's just like having a monster under your bed when you were a kid. Your imagination is running wild. You're probably selling yourself short. You're making it much bigger than it needs to be. And the only way to stop doing that is you have to be able to get a hold of yourself, right? Like, be able to talk yourself off of those ledges, like bring it back to, okay, what can I do today? Because every little step are going to add up to get you to the other side. You will see yourself through this just like you've seen yourself through other things in the past. And that's one of the best way of dealing with fear, is raising your self-awareness and understanding what you are capable of doing. And then, one little bite at a time, and stop letting your imagination run wild on like all the worst scenarios. And there's other ways to work with fear, but it is ultimately going to have to start taking those actions and have confidence in those steps and then taking the next step. and people will tell you, I do the first time storytelling broadcast where people tell their stories. And when they look back, the things that they say is, I kept moving, I kept taking the next step, right? So anytime they found themselves in a difficult situation, it's like, I took the next step. And sometimes it's tough to identify what that next step is. And that's why working with somebody like you is really great. And, surrounding yourself with people who can help you stay focused on what's the next thing that you need to do. And then stops you from having the conversation. So every time you start initiating conversation where you're imagining the worst, you start stopping yourself. The people around you start stopping you. And again, just go back to neutral. Instead of thinking of the worst, can I just be neutral and not think about it? And that's like, in the big picture, some of the things that people can do.
Yeah, that's huge. I was thinking, like you said, fear of the unknown is a big one, right? I think that's really common in a lot of people. I think it's almost human nature. I'll put my therapist hat on for a second. Like, it's almost human nature to people like predictability, and to know what's going to be. And so fear of the unknown is a big one, and it's hard to overcome. And for people thinking about, I'll bring it back to like the divorce for a second. People thinking about getting a divorce who are in a bad relationship, a bad marriage, a lot of times don't want to pull the trigger and start the divorce process because of the fear of the unknown of what will life be like after divorce, right? And so it takes a team of people like myself and you to help people and coach them. That's what we do, right? Is coach them through the process to get them to the other side, so they get there. Because if they don't keep on moving, what happens?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't keep moving, then you can get to a depression. You can just get to a much lower point. I mean, that's something, you know, I suffer from depression for years, because even though I had a tough mindset, I still didn't have the understanding of consistency in action, and in being a body in movement and continue to be a body in movement. So even today, with, for me, it's the business, which is the biggest challenge of them all. It's every day. It's like, okay, I need to be consistent in taking actions that I know over time are going to pay off. Now, in business, can you outlast how long it's going to take before you get your break, right? Do you have the runway? Do you have the money? In the situation of, a relationship, and if you're hesitating, there's a the grass is greener on the other side, but your mindset in the growth development and the process of what you're going to go through is going to be key to that, so that you are not the same person on that other side. So if there's a major life event that is triggering serious change in your life, and you're listening to this podcast, which kudos on you, that's a really great first step, then it's making that commitment to yourself that it's going to be tough, it's going to be hard, but I will not be the same person on the other side. And I am choosing that I'm going to be a better version of myself on the other side. So whatever that process is, let me go through it with that mindset of, I'm going to grow, I'm going to learn, I'm going to improve, and I'm going to, thrive. So I never tell people to go through something and just survive. Like, I'm going to thrive. I'm going to figure out how to thrive through that experience, because it is happening. You can't stop it. So how can you get the most out of it? And I know it might sound really weird to hear that if you're going through a lot of pain and you're going through a lot of anger. It might be hard to hear that, but know that those possibilities exist with the right support, with the right assistance to do that.
And therein lies the key, I think, is, you know, with the right support, with the right team around you, um, it's invaluable, really. Friends and family are great, but they're not objective. And to have objective people uh, there to help you and guide you and help you keep on moving, make the best choices at the time for yourself, like it's huge. And it's hard sometimes for people to see the value in that in the moment, in the pain. But it's not until, afterwards where they get to a result, a positive place where they're now thriving, that they look back and they realize how important the process was and what they did was, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um,
And the key is to don't avoid what you're feeling. Like I wouldn't, you have to feel what you're feeling,
right.
but get through it. Like, and if your friends and family are continuing to rehash or they allow you to keep rehashing, then you're feeding the loop of continuing to feel the same thing. Feel what you have to feel with the conscious decision that you want to feel something else. Like, this is how I feel. Like, and again, relating it back to business, for me, there are days where I'm frustrated and, I'll scream and yell. It's just because it's frustrating. It's not, I've put in so much effort and I'm getting either no results out of it or very little result. And I'm such a like a result driven person. So I feel the frustration. So I'll feel it, yell, scream, and then I'm like, okay, this doesn't serve me. I need to get past this. So that allows me to get past it. So feel what you need to feel, but get past it.
And people who are results driven personalities, and I'm sort of like that. Not the most hardcore, but results matter to me definitely. It's having the patience and the consistency to believe in the process. The process can take a while, and again, we don't know how long it's going to take, right? the unknown. So like having that mindset is so important, because we want it right away. Everybody wants instant
Yeah.
gratification now with the way technology is. And I see it in my daughter growing up, like instant gratification. It's like if they don't get it, then tantrum hell. But
But the positive thing though, when it is about you, so, as far as the legal documents or the legal uh, process, you probably, you can't expedite that. That's going to take what it takes. But as far as your personal development through that, absolutely. If you're an impatient person, you can expedite that portion, right? So anything that is based on Anne needing to learn or Anne needing to do, I go, because I will not be the link that's holding this back, right? So that you can expedite. So if you're a result driven person, just understand that you need to put in the hard work, which means you're going to have to go digging into how you're feeling, how you're behaving, and you're going to have to make immediate changes. And then when those bad habits come back, you're going to have to nip them in the butt. But you can aggressively do that. Absolutely. Again, all the other stuff. And
but that still
then
takes time. That's all I was saying, is like that
it
takes.
does. It still takes
Right.
time, but you can make it. It can be a lot faster.
Oh yeah.
Than,
Well,
and
you're in
especially
control.
you are in control. Exactly, you are in control of that because you're not. It's not like in business where you're waiting for other people, or you need a break, or you need money, or you need whatever. This is your personal, growth, your personal journey, and you can expedite that as fast as you're willing to, go through the process.
So what would be some of your biggest tips? Because we're running out of time here, but I want to talk about this. I think it's important too. Like, what would be some good tips you can give people who are going through a divorce? The trauma of a bad marriage, fear of the unknown, a post-divorce life. Um, like, what would you say to them as far as what they should be doing now in the moment to keep them moving forward and get them to where they want to be?
I would say you need to focus on you. Like, you need to turn inwardly and you start being about you, because something dramatic just happened to you and you need to raise your self-awareness around what that has done to you, and raise your self-awareness to reconnect it to who you are. So there's a version of you before you get married, there's a version of you through the relationship and the marriage, and then there's the version of you you're creating that is going to exist after this event and onwards. So, take the time to discover who that person is. And one of the ways to do that, that's one of the things that I promote with the 365 First Challenge, right? Go out and do the things you used to do as a kid that you haven't done in forever to reconnect with what that was like. Explore new things that you've never done. And are those things that you would want to introduce in your life into this new person that you're aiming to, develop? Meet new people. That's a really great way as you're meeting new people. And I like this person and this is why. I don't like this person and this is why. Reconnecting with your values and what matters to you. Like this, this is about you and rediscovering who you are and who you want to be moving forward.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the challenge. wh- what is it, and how can people get involved?
So you can download the app. It's called hashtag 365 first with an S challenge, and it's available on Apple and Android. But how, not but please download the app. But another great way of getting involved with me and with my team of coaches is to join the 365 First Challenge Facebook group. And that's a place where we explore so many different types of topics because so many different people are there and they're at different phases of their lives and they're exploring different first time and new experiences. So you get to come into this hodgepodge of extremely supportive people who are exploring what life has to offer, and you can tap into that network and those people, and they're going to be extremely supportive of what you're aiming to do. And it might be a nice break and distraction from everything else to just go in a place where people are out to just live and maximize life and see what it has to offer. And I do the 365 First podcast where I twice a week I have someone who tells a first time story. And like I was saying, referring to some of those stories, there's always some great life takeaway. And for some people, somebody told a story of the first time he tried to run 100 miles for the first time, right? And that correlates to life. Like, he pushed himself to the limit and he didn't get it done, but here's all the great things that I learned in the process. So it's a great
Right.
place to listen to stories, get out of your day-to-day happenings and things that are going on. So those are some of the ways you can find Ann Bernard if you look me up on social media, or 365 First Challenge.
That's awesome. The Facebook group, and before you give, I want you to give the name of the Facebook group again, just so people know what to search for in Facebook. But the support aspect, I can't overstate that, understate that enough. Overstate, understate, one of those. You
Yeah.
fill in the blank. It's a little bit late. I'm a little spent, but it's so important, like the support, and I have that in my Facebook group too. Finding another positive support group that you can rely on, and it doesn't have to be about divorce. That's why I love this group too, because it's about life and it's about doing things. Even in the darkest of times, you need a little laughter, you need a little brightness. So you can get that this challenge can give that to you if you are looking for some of that. Participate. So join the group. I love it. I think it would be really beneficial for people, anybody going through a traumatic event, especially a divorce. But what should people search for in Facebook?
So hashtag 365 first FIRSTS challenge, and you will find both the page and the group. So 365 first without the challenge is the page, and with challenge is the group. And there's, like I said, I'm in there, and there's 5 other Next Level First coaches, so they're life coaches that are there. And it's really, so this week one of the coaches, they get a spotlight and she's talking about reading. And we did do it yourself, we do vision boards, we do a lot of different things. And there's the play alongs, storytelling, just really a lot happening there. And as you're going through your experience with a divorce, you might you're probably going to become conscious of, oh, this is the first time I have to do this, the first time I have to do this. And so it's a great place, and we understand. And while it is a very positive group, but it's not, some people do share, hey, this is my first time having a car accident and I'm struggling, and I don't know what to do. And, as somebody else who's had a car accident before can be like, oh, by the way, don't do this, this, and this.
That's the
So
positive support though.
exactly, that is the positive support. So as you're going through this, it's a great place to come out, and it's a private group, and everything is meant to stay with the group members and with the coaches there. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Absolutely. So great. Is other than Facebook and the app, any other places people should find you?
Yeah. You can also check out the 365 First Challenge website. So
Okay.
run a blog, and we have a weekly challenge, and yeah, from there you can find me. Like I said, you can always look me up, Google Ann Bernard, or Ann Bernard on Instagram, Twitter, across social media, if you want to get in touch and learn more or get support. Yeah.
I just tell people, just Google it.
Yeah, just Google.
That's my answer for everything. Just Google it.
It really comes across. I had some bodybuilding years, so there's some pictures out there when you Google that people find. They're like, oh my God. Like, yeah, I do not look like that anymore.
Is that the same person?
Yeah.
It's okay. If you look up my name, Jason Lavoie, there's some guy in Florida who's a championship racquetball player. I was like, wow,
interesting. Yeah.
I like racquetball, but that's not me. Awesome. And thank you so much. I think this was a great talk, and I love the challenge aspect. And so I hope people take advantage of it. And thank you so much for being on the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I hope it was helpful for everyone that's listening.
Oh, I know it was. I loved it. So hopefully everybody else did too. We'll talk soon.